Welcome back. It's a heady rally, 340 points up on the Sensex. Mayuresh Joshi now joins in the conversation. Mayuresh, take on Motherson Sumi. Is this rally really marking the end of what's been a long trough phase?
Afternoon, Durbi. Now, again, pain points that have probably gone through, specifically in terms of the emission norms, what happened to a particular list of its client, and Volkswagen particularly. I think there has been some respite because of the commentary that has come through from Volkswagen. So they've reiterated that the margin guidance that they'll probably maintain for the coming fiscal can be maintained at the higher end of the band that they have mentioned. So I think ancillary supporters like Motherson obviously will get cheerful news if they're probably maintaining and raising their guidance to the upper end. But the other element is the general slowdown that we've probably seen both in the domestic market and how the margins have fared specifically for its S&P business. So again, I think there are a whole host of factors at play here. So there might be a move here. I mean, there is no possibility that the move cannot get ruled out. But in my opinion, I think the stock is probably stuck in a range unless we probably see consistency happening specifically from both SMR, S&P earnings, both from the top line in terms of the executable order book that they've got and the new Daimler order that they've won, and whether they can maintain their margins and improve it thereafter. Again, I think the debt equity at 1 times, because of the capex that they're probably doing, should probably sustain around that level itself. So in my opinion, I think the stock is probably stuck in a wide range, at least over the next few months.
Okay, Mitesh, I wanted your thoughts on what next for the Bank Nifty, because it took support at 200-day moving average, 26,500, didn't breach that. And today we have more than reclaimed Friday's lost ground. Friday, I think we were down some 180 points. Today we rallied 280 points.
That's right, Anuj. Two things. So one, yes, we have time in again, and at least on 3 occasions last week, kind of hit the 200 average, managed to bounce back. Secondly, on the intraday charts, while Friday was a down day, Thursday was a high day. So I think we've crossed the Thursday's high also. We've got into an higher top, higher bottom formation. I think as long as Bank Nifty doesn't break below 27,050 on this spot, which is about 100 points lower, there's a good chance that we are looking at a test of 27,400 to 450 to begin with, and maybe even higher levels.
Okay, fair enough. Mayuresh, talking about some of the movers and shakers today, Adani Ports, which is still down 8% despite the surge on the screen. What did you make of the developments there, and what would your stock recommendation be?
So clearly, I think one really needs to give it time. I think in terms of the acquisition that they have done themselves, I think on the face of it, it probably looks a tad expensive, because if one really presumes the kind of numbers that the acquisition might add up, both in terms of top line and the EBITDA, though there is a huge potential in terms of the infrastructure requirements that is required, specifically in terms of the food logistic infrastructure development needs that both the government is embarking upon, and the consequential utilization levels as these projects start coming on stream, because a lot of projects are also in terms of a development stage at this point of time. The second element obviously is that it's a very high EBITDA margin business, but the second element is obviously going to be how the acquisition is probably going to take place, because at an enterprise value, again, I think it seems to be a little bit expensive, and how it affects cash flows for the port business in general. So I think you probably need to give it more time, probably assume what kind of an impact will the financials have going forward. As a clear disclaimer, I think we don't own the Adani Group stocks, so I think let the stock settle down. I think there are better stocks probably in the NBFC stroke financial space that I might probably look at this point of time.
All right, fair enough. Well, we've just got about 2 minutes to go, so let's start wrapping up this day. Anuj, I guess on the large caps, I mean, barring the fact that, okay, RIL didn't participate today, SBI kind of chose to sit out of this move. Large caps, I mean, how would you sum up how this has been?
It was a good day, but we've moved to the higher end once again rather swiftly. In that, I think today's underperformance of the mid caps is something I'll take note of. I was saying in my morning commentary, it would be healthy if the index consolidates a bit more and mid caps catch up.
Mid caps keep doing that.
This kind of market action is not healthy. Yes, if this is expiry week as well, and right now all the momentum is with the bulls on the index, so that way things are looking good. But you would have wanted to see some more participation from the broader market, despite last week's gain. Last week, what was the gain in mid cap index? They just corrected
2%. I mean,
exactly.
It was all of 5 days.
Exactly. So you should have seen more gains. Anyway, let's talk about the index and finally how things are ending here. Almost a 100-point rally on the Nifty, for all you know. 300 points higher on the Sensex, 280 points higher on the Bank Nifty. In terms of individual stocks, TCS once again taking over leadership, 3% higher Had Infosys for support, 3% higher on that as well. Then some of these beaten down names like Grasim, Ultratech did well. Yes Bank was higher. Once again, IndusInd Bank did well. HDFC Bank made a big move in late trade. That always helps the market, of course. ICICI, JSW Steel doing well. What didn't do too well? Adani Ports, of course, the market not liking that deal, so 8% lower on that. Bharti Infratel is finally seeing some profit taking after that big start to the year, so 3% lower on that. And HP and BP finally corrected. Some logic perhaps playing out finally after that rally despite crude going up. So today there was a bit of a decline in the stocks.
Okay, on the mid-cap screen, the closing is positive, though of course it's a lot of underperformance if you're comparing it to the Nifty or the Sensex. That's a 0.3% gain coming through. What worked today, Motherson Sumi was such a high flyer, 12% up. I mean, just buyers all the way really on this stock today. Sugar has been a very sweet spot. So whether it was the Dhampur, Balrampur, even something like Sri Renuka, counted up Raj Industries as well. So a lot of these stocks are moving higher. There's been plenty of speculation about maybe some additional package that's coming the company's way. This is, of course, all reports, not substantiated by any source just yet. Apart from this, DCB Bank had a good day, 5% up on that one. Kajaria, Raymond, these were some other stocks to look at, 4 to 5% up on these ones as well. And Shriram Transport Finance found some buyers. Balkrishna Industries was up about 2% thereabouts. And Apollo Hospitals managed about a 3% up move as well. So this is how the mid-cap screen looked like on the upside. On the downside, Jet Airways is down about 4%. SBI did clarify to us that they are not taking the company to NCLT right now. Still, stock was on the lower side. Future Consumer has paid off some gains. Jubilant Foodworks was the other one, which was quite noticeable on the way down. These are some of the stocks. Oberoi Realty also. Some of the real estate stocks, actually quite an interesting story. They started out positive, but some of them, like Oberoi, for instance, the gains came off rather quickly. Even Prestige Estates, a lot of the other names on the realty sector, DLF, a lot of the morning gains were completely erased by afternoon. So that's how it has played out. Let's take final thoughts with the guests then. Mayuresh, on real estate, now that this news is out, do you have any buys at all?
No, again, I think the street is probably now just stating the news. I think the benefits that might not come through because of the input tax credit not available. I think the pass-through that is probably available to the developer is probably not there at this point of time. So I think a lot of managements have actually spoken how they might not get impacted because of what the move has been. In fact, what can actually happen, and the anticipation of the street was largely getting built in, that if there is no input tax credit, largely I think the developers are not going to benefit very, very strongly. I think it's the affordable part of the market where buyers can probably take the biggest advantage at this point of time. But one really needs to segregate between the real estate players the component of affordable housing at this point of time, and what kind of a percentage of revenue accretion can it happen as the execution starts, and if it starts happening over the next few years. So as that thesis and genesis has started dripping in over the day into these stocks, I think it was very obvious that listed developers are not going to probably get any kind of a benefit from these moves. So again, I think no real buys at this point of time. I think the only stock that we probably hold in our funds is Godrej Properties.
Okay, fair enough. Quick last words from you as well, Mitesh. Looking at today's close, mid-cap underperformance, large-cap, great day. How would you look at tomorrow?
So I would say that, we've been talking about 200 average as the first target, and then beyond that 10,920, 930 as the next target. Most likely we should see continuation on the upside. Maybe you'll get an intraday dip, but that's fine. But I think overall, I think 10,930, 950 zones could be revisited, where at least we would be aggressive in taking profits off on the long position.
Okay, and Ashwini, what would your final word of advice be looking at today's action?
See, there are two questions here. What do you do tomorrow, and would you do something? I would think, the time to go long was, 10,750 thereabouts. Now you are in the final kind of, the final people who are short, maybe covering short 50, 70 points higher. Don't take fresh positions if you are still long. Maybe see if you can get another 50, 70, and then wait for the market to again turn from higher levels. I think it will again turn. It's not going anywhere, and again you'll come back to 10,600, etc. So each time, we are just going in circles. So don't at least take fresh long positions if nothing else, I think a lot of short positions may be wound up today. A few more may be left, not enough to take long positions.
All right, gentlemen, thanks for being with us and taking us through market close today. We need to get into a break right now. But on the other side, India's very first REIT from global investment company Blackstone and realty firm Embassy Group is ready to debut soon. We'll get you an excerpt from our conversation with Tuhin Parekh, Senior MD of Real Estate at Blackstone India.